Welcome to the Artisan Academy Module 3, and I'm Christine Patterson. I am one of the Artisan's students, as well as I'm a photographer, painter, and I'm here to share some ideas that are based off of what Chloe and Sophia said on Module 1 and 2. And one of the things that they had talked about was really, what is your inspiration? What is your desire, intent? And these are such important things, whether you're a beginner or have been in the field as I have for 30 plus years. I think what happens is when you get to a certain point, you have to realize that you're here for a reason. And what is that reason? Is it to be ignited again? Is it to be introduced to the world of creativity? And all of these questions are starting to unravel for you, hopefully, during these modules that you will be watching. One of the things that I, as an artist, I have a trouble with is when somebody says, I'm not creative. And that is a myth that is absolutely not true. We are all creative. We were all amazing artists from little people until around the 6th grade, when all of a sudden our bubbles were burst and that our purple horses weren't supposed to be purple and our circles weren't perfect, and the gal that's sitting next to me or the guy that's sitting next to me in class, they paint better than I do. All of that is what really came to a screeching halt for so many people as artists. And what I'm here to do is really inspire that back into us, because we live in a society that is absolutely overwhelming. We have so much stimulus coming into our brains that our poor brains are just exhausted, and our brain never sleeps. Even when we sleep, our brain is not sleeping. So my point here today is to invite you into this really simple startup part of creativity. And what this is for me is, it is basically where I lose myself into another world. And I invite you to be part of this and to exercise these simple instructions daily. If you put this into your daily activity, no different than brushing your teeth or brushing your hair, your mind will get clearer and clearer, and your intent, your desire, your focus, everything will start to make sense. As Sophia said, notice what you're noticing. When you walk outside and you look outside and see the birds and see the leaves and see the shadows, why do you look at certain things and not other things? And the same goes with creativity. When somebody says they're not an artist, I sit them down and explain to them, you are. We've been artists for thousands of years, since the cave drawings to now. We're doodlers, we're mark makers, we're all kinds of type of creativity. You got dressed this morning, for gosh sakes. You're an artist. You wouldn't put on the clothes that you put on unless you had discernment. And that is really important in art, because what it is that you're starting to ask questions. Would this look good on me? Am I happy? Am I sad? If I'm sad, do I want to wear red? If I'm sad, do I want to wear black? If I'm happy, do I want to wear blue or pink? Whatever it is, you are asking yourself questions. You're in constant dialogue with yourself all day long. And this is what art is. It's a constant inner dialogue. And as Sophia and Chloe both brought up, it is really good for you to see it, to touch it, to be part of it, like ripping up pages in a magazine, as Chloe was telling you, and starting to put it in a notebook. And as Sophia was telling you, write down your intentions, write down your what's, whys, and who's. Write these things down, and for me coming in, I am going to help you go and also draw it. And what I'd like to present to you today is the art of mark making. And mark making is so simple. It is as simple as drawing one line. And one of the things that I'd like to show you is, I have a box full of just absolute, I walked around, I mean, paper towel. I took some scissors and cut the ends of it. I found a sponge, I found some bubble wrap, a fork, Q-tips. Everyone should have a good cork. You know, there's so many different things, a knife. And what I want to show you today is how I take all these objects and don't put it past me to use fruit, to use flowers, anything that is around your house. This is how simple this task is. Find something, and all I ask is to find a sheet of paper. Get it from your printer, whatever is easiest for you to get. But what we're going to do is we are going to take this piece of paper, and you can use a paper plate for your paints. I happen to have a palette. But what I'm going to show you today is how we get away from going, I'm not an artist, I can't do anything with this white sheet of paper. Yes, you can. I am here to tell you, you absolutely are an artist, and you can, because this is your conversation with you. This is when you start dipping into your subconscious. This is when you are going to actually be affected by what you do. And I am going to tell you that by activating this white piece of paper with all of this just random stuff, we are going to have fun. Let me show you a couple of things that I've done. I keep a notebook, as both Chloe and Sophia has really stressed upon you. If you keep a notebook of these ideas, you have one for your magazines, one for your words, and one for just doodles, mark making. This is my doodles. These are my mark making. And what I do with this is very, very important. Not only has it activated a part of my brain that I actually got lost in. I did these, I don't know, for 15, 20 minutes and thoroughly enjoyed myself. Put a good piece of music on, lit a candle. This time is for you. But what I do with these is I will come up and literally on my canvas, I will put it up to the canvas and go, I remember that mark making. I really love it. This was made by a toothbrush. This was made by a sponge. This was made by Q-tips. This was made by an old scrap piece of window blind I had. So what I'm going to do is show you this now. I'm going to put these aside. And again, I want to stress that this is your time. Just like Sophia and Chloe said, this is your time. This is your time to absolutely enjoy yourself and open doors that you never thought would open. So what I'm going to do is I happen to have some golden fluid carbon black. You can use anything you like, but for me on this, it's easier for me to use fluid paint, and we can get into that later, or you can Google it or go to YouTube. And I'm literally just going to pour it on to my palette sheet, just like that. This is distilled water that I put in one of my hair products. I cleaned it out, put distilled water in there. Just in case this gets dry, I just spritz it. So the first one I'm gonna do with my oh so scary white piece of paper is I'm just gonna put my little Q-tips from my toilet paper roll that I cut in half, that I then taped all my Q-tips to, and just literally I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun and just dot, dot, dot. And then maybe I'm just gonna do some circles. And what I'm doing is activating not only my mind, but I'm activating questions of going, my gosh, you know, this could really kind of be cool. This could actually be part of a painting. And you keep asking yourself questions. What would I do with that? Do I like that? Because one of the things that we're always so used to is using a paintbrush. Yes, a paintbrush is gorgeous. Can do all kinds of wonderful things, but so can Q-tips. And all right, let's just take another one, a cork. I'm gonna take the cork and I'm gonna go over this. All right, this is a cork. Again, I'm doing basic mark making. And Paul Klee was wonderful in the regard of talking. He's one of the masters that I adore. And yet another thing, please look up all of your masters, because every single one of them started with a line. And Paul Klee said that drawing is a line actually just going for a walk. What a line does is it travels the viewer's eye from one point to another. So your mark making is taking your viewer on a journey. And what does that journey do? What is that journey going to be like? And the most important thing is, what is the artist saying to the viewer, and can the viewer feel it? And when you start to learn your language of mark making, you will understand that this is your dialogue with yourself. And if you so choose to show it to other people or to sell it, they will feel it because it's authentic. So let's take a sponge. Crazy. I mean, just a bath sponge. And we just start doing this. I mean, we're back in kindergarten, right? I mean, when were we the happiest? We were oh so happy, like doing this and drawing and pounding and whatnot. Again, mark making. And this brings us back to the fact that we are starting to open up avenues in our brain. We are actually starting to release dopamine, endorphins, serotonin. We are literally changing our brain by just sitting here and just playing. And I'm going to take a fork and just start making lines on the paper with a fork. When you start to realize that this isn't just playing with paint, you are actually doing something scientifically to your brain. You're enhancing your memory. You are making yourself happier. You are able to release endorphins and serotonin and these beautiful messengers that make you feel good. This is literally a saving grace. Art can save people's lives in the regard of mental and with physical pain. So let's continue. Bubble wrap. We all get that, especially now. All right, I'm going to take a new piece of paper and I'm just going to put the bubble wrap down. Okay, so cool. So let's do it again. Let's do it again. 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 And as it gets fainter and fainter, that in itself becomes its own design. Now let's do the toothbrush, one of my favorites. Let's get a new piece of paper. Yeah. Okay, in the pop world, that might sell for, I don't know, $1 million. I don't know. It's just one of those things that it's up to the beholder. This is another way to do it. And look at that. So what I'm trying to show you is how simple mark making can be. And once you start into doing this and spend at least 30 minutes, but if you don't have 30 minutes, 10 minutes will do. But put these in a folder. Make sure that you write it down. Toothbrush. Then you put it in your folder. And what that does is it helps you go back in time and go, oh my gosh, that was so cool. This bubble wrap, I could see it on corners of my painting. This, oh my gosh, again, write down what you're doing with a cork, Q-tips, whatever it is, so that it helps you to remember, because I can assure you that I won't remember in a week what that was. This, I meant to show you this. I love taking things and recycling them. I mean, I know, looks like a mess, but it won't be. And that's what we'll do in the next video, is to show you how, once we activate our canvas or paper, what happens when we start adding paint on top of this. Because what happens is it becomes an archaeological dig. Some of these marks may show through the paint. Don't know. But that's the surprise and the element of surprise that is so much fun in art making. And some of you don't have paint, and that's fine, because we can start with just a black piece of paper and a white piece of paper, or a newspaper, or a magazine, or whatever. The reason I'm starting with black and white is it just is a little simpler. So what I'm going to do on this is I'm literally going to just tear stuff up. And you know what? Now that I'm sitting here thinking about this, let's tear some of this up. In art, you're making the rules up because there's no rules. And so what's going to happen is the more you investigate this, the more you try to go, gosh, you know, I love that. And when I say that, it's really a clever idea. This is from a piece of paper I cut out. But I'm going to show you that it can become like a frame. So then all of a sudden I go, I love just that in there. Oh. And that could become a painting unto itself. Forget the rest of the piece of paper, just look in there. So you never know what all of a sudden your language is going to be. And I think Sophia discussed that a couple of times of your what, who, and why, of what is my language? What am I saying? Where is my authentic self? Is that something that I really like? Because in art class, they didn't teach that. In art class, I was supposed to do this, or I was supposed to do that. And the most beautiful thing about art is again, it's your conversation with the viewer. So I'm just taking some black piece of paper, some of the pieces of paper that we just did, and I know I just tore these up. You are going to put those in your notebook, but I'm tearing them up just for creative sake, of just showing you that, I mean, look at this. That's cool. So when you start noticing what you're noticing what you're noticing, when you start doing that, you start realizing the conversation that you're having with yourself is so cool. And I love the fact that visualization is a muscle. So in order for you to see more upon more, open more and more doors, you've got to do this daily, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's with little scraps of paper that you find around the house, or maybe you were just looking at something that you were unpacking and go, wow, that would be really cool. I mean, this was another thing that I found. It's a packing board. So I painted it and literally went all over the board. This, a stick. I mean, literally taking the stick and making a mark. So what you end up doing is anything goes. So with this, I've taken a piece of paper. I've literally just taped it off. And I'm going to take my trusty Gorilla Glue stick. You can use anything. You can use medium, you can use glue, you can do whatever you would like. But I'm gonna just do this really quick so that you understand how simple this is. And what you're doing is you are just bettering your brain so much, because now you get to be a kid again. And by being a kid, guess what? You never know. You never know what you're gonna find. So for instance, doodling, there is all kinds of modes of learning. There's kinesthetic, auditory, visual, writing, all kinds of different modes of learning. And this is a visual learning. And when you start to look at this and realize, okay, I really like this. Let me see. I really like that. So this is when your design eye starts going, do I like the contrast with the white over the black? Or is it upside down? Or could it be, I don't know, whatever it could be, I don't know. So let's take another piece of paper. And the biggest thing about mark making and something like this, which is essential mark making, is you always want to have variety. You don't want things the same, okay? So you want things to look a little different than everything else. Now I'm going to do a little something right here. And just in this dark, white, dark contrast. So now you're having another dialogue with yourself, going, okay, that looks good. So now I'm going to take a little mark making. You can do this with a magic marker. You can do it with the paint. You can do it any way you want. But again, what I'm trying to show you is how easy this can be. And let me do one other. I don't know what this is for, like piping. I don't know. I went to the hardware store. Hardware stores, pet shops, art shops, baby products, all of this is just crazy cool what you can come up with and find. Go to Lowe's. I mean, Lowe's is one of my favorites. So now I'm creating a design with my mark making and ripping up my mark making and making it a collage. So these are just some of the tips to endless things that you can do. And I just welcome you to get your creative brain going and be able to enjoy a wonderful music and make your environment yours so that you can feel like you can fall into this world of creativity, because it literally is changing your brain and you are releasing the most beautiful things into your brain that is absolutely helping you throughout the day. Your moods will change. Your anxiety will go down. It is scientifically proven. So what I invite you to do is not only do a little research on your own about what I'm saying, but I invite you to the next module, which then, once we activate the white piece of paper, the crazy white piece of paper, the crazy white canvas, you know, that scary fear that I am not an artist, is this going to go somewhere? Maybe with some paint. Maybe I like it just like it is. Maybe I could take this, cut this up, and make it into greeting cards, or make it into a sweet little present for a friend and put it in a little 4x6 frame. Anything that goes, that your creativity starts churning and going, hey, what if I do this? What if I do that? And that is why that being an auditory or visual or kinesthetic learner or writing learner, what this does is you are problem solving constantly. It's actually thinking in disguise, which is an amazing thing, because you'll start to realize that you have more discernment. The more you do this, you have more and more questions on this piece of paper, and you will start applying this to your life as well. So let's get creative. Let me see if I can get out of this chair. Hello?